Hey everyone, Richard here, and with the launch of patch 15, the veteran finally has proper keystones to what was somewhat a lackluster skill tree. I think it's worthwhile going over each one and see how well they help the veteran in its various roles. Each keystone skill cluster corresponds nicely to the three archetypes for veteran, that being Sharpshooter, Sergeant, and Commando. There were also some adjustments to the skill tree, although this was mostly to make accessing the actual keystones cheaper by moving a few skills around and combining some of the nodes. Starting with the Sharpshooter's keystone, Marksman Focus allows you to accumulate 3 focus stacks for every weak point kill, up to a maximum of 10 or 15 with Long Range Assassin. The Camouflage skill also generates a stack every 0.75 seconds if you remain stationary or walk while crouching. These charges by default will increase your finesse power by 7.5% per charge, that is weak spot and crit damage, and increase your reload speed by 1%. They can also be upgraded to replenish 2.5% toughness per stack as well. The downside, however, is that sprinting, sliding, and walking will drain your stacks at a rate of around 1 every half second. Thankfully, you do have a grace period of around 3 seconds after killing an enemy with a weak spot strike, or 1 second upon hitting an enemy's weak point. When I initially read about this skill, I was a little bit hesitant on how well I think it would perform, especially when playing on Heresy and Damnation when standing still is rarely an option. In actuality, with the supporting talents and grace period, you'll almost always have, at minimum, a few stacks of focus. When you do have the positioning to dig in, the added damage will make short work of elites and specialists, assuming you can hit their weak spots. This paired with the Sharpshooter stance means you will absolutely crush any enemy that is unfortunate enough to walk into your crosshairs. The real downside in my eyes for this playstyle is that the left side of the veteran tree does feel a little too one-dimensional. Sure, that single dimension you do very well, but it can make you vulnerable, especially when playing with a team of randoms who are not coordinating very well. It is hard to utilize a lot of these advantages if you have to constantly dodge, duck, and use your melee weapon. The Sergeant's keystone, Focus Target, is a bit more straightforward, but nonetheless still pretty powerful. Every 2 seconds you gain a stack of focus up to a maximum of 5. Whenever you mark an enemy, for every stack you have, you and your team will deal 4% bonus damage, so with 5 stacks applied, you will deal 20% additional damage. This can be further upgraded to have a maximum of 8 stacks, however, whenever you mark an enemy, your stacks reset to 1. 2 of the other keystone modifiers, Target Down and Redirect Fire, grant you and allies in Coherency bonuses upon killing an enemy you marked. For Target Down, for every stack that was applied to the slain enemy, you and your allies in Coherency replenish 5% toughness and stamina. Redirect Fire grants a 1.5% damage boost for every stack applied to the marked enemy that was slain to you and your allies in Coherency. This effect lasts for 10 seconds, but it also is refreshed if another marked enemy is killed. It will also use the higher stack count in the event that the two are different. If you killed an enemy with 4 stacks and have a 6% damage bonus, but then kill an enemy with 2 stacks, it will refresh the 4 stack damage bonus. Compared to Sharpshooter and even the Commando keystone, Focus Target is a lot less flashy. However, the flat damage bonus and regeneration mean that it's pretty much always going to be useful no matter what situation you're in. I think this ability will see the most use, or at least have the most dramatic effect against bosses, but even run-of-the-mill specialists and elites will be much less threatening thanks to this. From a more social aspect too, I think this will encourage players to mark targets, indicating to the veteran what may need a focus target. Their mark is unique as well compared to the normal tag, being yellow with an exclamation point as opposed to the red skull. Finally, the Commando's keystone, Weapon Specialist, leans into turning the veteran into a close-range powerhouse. You gain a range specialist stack upon killing an enemy with a melee weapon up to 10 times. Killing enemies with ranged attacks grants you melee specialist, which stacks up to 1 time. When you switch to your ranged weapon, it will activate ranged specialist for 5 seconds, and for each stack it will increase your fire rate by 2% and your critical chance by 33%. So with 10 stacks you will have your fire rate increased by 20% and your critical hit chance increased by 330%. Note that this is not additive. So if your critical hit chance base is 10%, it doesn't become 340%. It would be your critical hit chance multiplied by 330%. Swapping to your melee weapon activates Melee Specialist for 10 seconds. This grants a flat 15% attack speed bonus and a 10% bonus to dodge speed and distance. Some of the Keystone talents will give you added benefits to activating specialist abilities like increased reload speed, topping off magazines, restoring stamina, or reducing stamina cost. On Your Toes is quite powerful too as a Keystone modifier. It allows you to quickly patch up your toughness by replenishing 20% of it when you activate either melee or ranged specialist with only a short 3-second cooldown. Personally, I do like that the Keystone really pushes the veteran into a hybrid class, being able to use his entire arsenal as opposed to Sharpshooter, which really restricts your mobility and melee effectiveness. This Keystone also plays nicely into a critical hit build, so if you are an avid crit farmer, this may be the better of the 3 Keystones for your playstyle. While I have only played a handful of games so far with the new Keystones, I am heavily leaning into the Focus Target and Weapon Specialist for my personal favorites. While Marksman's Focus is still good, it can still feel a little bit limiting to maximize it, and I suspect it won't feel that bad when you're playing with friends or when you're playing with good randoms, since you won't be fending for yourself as often. Overall though, I think these are a nice addition to the veteran tree and helps flesh out the class a lot better. I do plan on updating the veteran guide. However, the Ogryn is going to be the next video as I have already started pre-production on it. Let me know what you think of the changes in patch 15, the new talents, the carnival, and the veteran update. But until next time, happy hunting, rejects.